MojoPlays. Today we're looking at the companions found within Tears of the Kingdom, a game mechanic added to LOZBOTW's sequel, which was a half step towards having a partner character with Link, a la Navi, Tattle, Fi, Midna, etc. The companions take the form of a shadow person, or this silly thing, as they accompany you, and the player doesn't really get any dialogue with them, but you can summon them to form a small party which will help you fight foes. Each character has a special ability which Link can activate at any time out in the world, frustrating as that system may be, and players have opinions. Some seem drastically better than others, but I'm here to dig deep and find all the niche interactions these partner abilities really have. Some may surprise you. Tulin, Sidon, Riju, Yunobo, and Minu, welcome to the tier list zone. Let's get right into it. How useful are they for the player? What kinds of creative utility can you get out of them? This is basically Mythbusters now. Be sure to collect the Triforce of subscribe. Whoosh!
Secret stone? Demon King?
Demon King? Secret stone?
That stone.
Demon King secret stone. Secret stone?
Did I get it?
Tulin.
Link! This is so amazing! I can't believe my ancestor gave me such an important mission, and it involves fighting alongside you to save the world!
Tulin is by far the easiest to rank because you've used him 20 times more than any other companion, unless you absolutely despise the glider, you crazy mamma jamma. He replaces Revali's role in the previous game by creating a wind gust, which Link can use to get around this massive open world. Revali's spirit may rest knowing he was replaced by a small child, and then before you have access to him, flaming pine cones. The gust can move items, which is often not quite what you want, so if anything was gonna bring Tulin down a peg, it would be all our lost monster gubs flying off into the abyss because he stood a little too close. I did strategically try to use it to blow the enemy's weapons away before they had a chance to get them, but certain placed items in the game just won't move. Bit of a shame that. Beyond items, Tulin can air blast most enemies off ledges if you don't want to deal with them, or just cause a ragdoll equals very funny. Look at him go. Foes don't have to be standing on the edge of a cliff to get some use out of this though. You can knock guys over, or shoot flying enemies out of the air. Then do a cheeky glider bullet time snipe to take them all out in style. I suppose there is a small chance this could put you into an airborne state, which you may not want to, but generally flying around is a pretty safe option and will give you distance from aggressive hordes. Gust can hit multiple foes at a time, and even if you miss... Now to get into the nitty-gritty interactions, that's what we're really here for, here's a few niche situations Tulin excels in. Because he enters flight when in combat, his little bird body is actually decent for accidentally blocking projectiles. Unfortunately, the gust itself cannot stop or reflect projectiles, but it would have been cool. Arrows and thrown rocks will pass through unimpeded, but at least you have the chicken-human shield. Tulin's ability also doesn't put out any fire, because of how the element system works in the game. Fire actually creates updrafts and is not dispelled by wind in any way. If your items are burning, if you are burning, the flap of his wing shall not save you. Being that sails, fans, and wind-based machines exist in the game, it's pretty cool that Tulin can interact with it too. Give your brilliant creations a boost if they are stuck, or just save some of your Zonai battery by using Gust to get your boat moving. Neat. Beyond that, there's a propeller in the game that you can steal out of a shrine, which you might think Tulin can interact with, but not really, because he's not really supposed to. But we'll cover all of that in the electrical devices in Riju's chapter. That's a whole big thing. In battle, what does the pint-sized puffball bring to the field to protect himself? A John Marston Deadeye and a bow worthy of Legolas. That's what. Tulin snipes enemies from afar and has a high chance to headshot baddies, which can admittedly save your life. The headshot pings he gets are both super satisfying, deal bonus damage, and knock the enemies to the ground so you as Link can easily finish them off. While his range isn't unlimited, Link's bow can often shoot farther than him, you'll find he'll always be taking out an enemy or two himself before you even have to bother withdrawing a weapon. It would be awesome and maybe a little overpowered if we could give Tulin elemental arrows to fire, but as is, he's pretty much the only one you need out for encounters while exploring. The others are gravy. Confidently, S tier, Tulin tier, there was never any doubt. Sidon?
Here, Link, your hand.
Okay. Sidon, inversely, is one of the harder characters to rank. Let me tell you all right now, the vow of water is being slept on. Using his power, you can cheese entire game mechanics in probably unintended ways. Activated by pressing A on him, Sidon's bubble is super useful for players at low health, be it for challenge runs or if you're just in the early game. Basically, the bubble protects you for one free hit from an enemy. You could argue just not getting hit while using the other sage powers are flat out better, but you'll find there's so many times in this game where a powerful enemy will charge an attack and you have nothing better to do anyway. The Mukta especially, any of the Flux constructs, the other major bosses, or even mobs such as Wizrobes and Octoroks will have phases you simply have to endure through. Furthermore, because an enemy strike will be completely ignored, Link suffers no knockback or stun. So you may have noticed, this ability also gives you second chances at landing parries and flurry rushes. Miss the timing while bubbled? It's an instant do-over, which is extremely convenient for drawn-out battles. Being that committed TOTK researchers have found that Flurry Rush doubles the damage of any attack, it's the most powerful option Link has in most situations, so now you get more of it. The second and a little less useful half of Sidon's barrier is that well deployed, Link can swing his weapon to transfer the water energy into a wide projectile strike. This is somewhat limited use and consumes the bubble, so Link has to wait for Sidon to recharge before he's shielded again. To be fair, a free projectile isn't half bad, and you can still shoot your bow or go bullet time without consuming the shield. The blast itself typically runs along whatever height Link is at and deals bonus damage to fire enemies. Obviously, a cool use for it is how the water can cool Igneotalises, making for a much easier fight, and once you have Sidon, you won't have to rely on items like the Ice Fruit to do this at any moment. Not that there's like a ton of these guys, but that's neat, like boom. Pocket water. But let's get into the juice. That's all well and good, but how can the bubble be used to sidestep entire game mechanics? Check this out. It actually decreases Link's temperature, not just while inside it, but for quite a while after. This is because it gives Link the wet status, something essentially you get from entering a body of water, which has its own implications we'll get to in a second. In the duration, you're actually immune to extreme heat, and because the bubble's cooldown is equal to when it recharges, as long as Link doesn't use it up, you'll have indefinite neutral temperature. Explore magma areas or any part of Death Mountain you wish. Fireproof clothing no longer necessary, your equipment won't burn either, and if something drops that does catch fire, the water blast will put it out so you can safely recover it. This is maybe a niche use, but you can see how a player, perhaps a speedrunner, would want to pass through a heat-locked area and could abuse this to traverse hot map sections. Well, back to the wet status, let us recall how all the Zora weapons deal significantly higher damage when the weapon is wet. It seems like double damage as well. Link is typically expected to use these while near water, or maybe while it's raining, but guess what? With Sidon, you have access to instant wetness. Moving on. Pop the bubble near a boss enemy, use all your stamina for a multi-strike attack with said powerful Zora weapon, and the results will surprise you. Zora weapons are among some of the more durable pickups as well, so this is a strat you can use over and over until the sea cows come home. Enough of how awesome the Orb of Water is. Sidon himself is a little lackluster, to be honest. Personal observation, but he seems like one of the more hesitant companions to attack. He'll poke at enemies with his spear, but only if they're directly in front of him, despite the range you might expect he has. He will very rarely do a triple stab, but Tulin will already have fired off an entire quiver of arrows before he gives that a try. Fire blasts don't seem to affect him, but he also doesn't fight back too hard after being hit by anything. This fish is going firmly into A. Being able to manipulate temperature is super duper cool, and blocking hits almost puts him in S tier for me, but it isn't quite universal. I think it's a dang shame you still take fall damage with it. The man himself does not pull his weight anywhere close to Tulin, so there you go, a fishman, A tier.
I am the Sage of Lightning. Witness this new power I possess.
Riju is great. Riju's blast hits multiple enemies in a big wave, and no surprise deals elemental shock damage, which has always been a little bit overpowered in the series. Being electrocuted may stun up enemies or make them drop their weapons if it doesn't outright blast them into smithereens. The downside being, it's not nearly as instant as the other champion powers, but it does have its own unique uses you may not expect. How many times have I said that in this video already? I'm gonna keep saying it. It continues to be true. The actual beam on the lightning does indeed make contact with anything it touches as it enters the screen. So, shooting underneath flying enemies will still hit them, thank goodness. The blast part of the attack also acts like a bomb arrow, blowing up mineral deposits, breaking boxes, and of course, setting off chain reactions of explosions. Every time you land a headshot, the lightning strike follows immediately after, pretty much guaranteeing the enemy's destruction. It will often cause wildfires, especially when fighting around grass, allowing Link to easily take to the sky or deal a little bit of burn damage against anything tough enough to tank a bolt. Something you may not have tried is activating Riju's energy force field while in darkness. It will map out the ground and ceiling around you, offering a quick mini radar whenever you're stuck in a deep old dank cave, or can't bother to find somewhere to cook all those fish in your pocket, line up a lightning bolt and cook away. You gotta go fetch the food before it burns up. Yes, this is silly. Yes, I really enjoy that it actually works. But I have to address the electrical battery in the room. Riju has a very interesting exploit that I struggled to understand for several hours while researching this video: batteries. How do they work? In only, I think, 2 shrines in the game, machine parts can be found that are uniquely powered by electricity instead of magic zonai goop. Heading to the shrine underneath Zoro's domain, you can ignore the puzzle at hand and simply smuggle out the rare piece by fusing it to a weapon or a shield, but not the Master Sword like I did. That would be stupid, because that doesn't work. Leave with the precious cargo and head to Terrytown. Pay the little Goron to keep his mouth shut and disassemble the item from the electrical battery part. Boom! Illegal machinery. Stick it to a mechanical wonder you have created, then get a Riju to blast it with her lightning, and you'll see the battery actually fully charges. Then drive your little creation around with essentially an instant recharge at your fingertips. But what's this? It's not working. The battery is still being used from Link's Zonai charge and not the yellow electricity. What up? Well, apparently it can only actually be used to power another electrical part, the electrical propeller found in a completely different shrine. Smuggle this one out the same way, and bazoom! You now have 2 unintended game mechanics that still don't work, and I'm not sure why. I've read using Riju's Lightning can recharge this battery indefinitely, you can make an indefinitely moving airship, but honestly, this seems like it's all above me. I'm no redstone expert. This took so long. Feel free to make fun of me in the comments and explain how the heck this cheat works. Thank you very much. Back to the mini queen, she fights with 2 dual swords and zips around pretty quickly on the battlefield. Not too much to complain about on that end. Better than Sidon, not as bloodthirsty as Tulin. Highly recommended, let's say A tier. I suppose it's worth noting her lightning will not damage electrical enemies in the slightest, which is a unique disadvantage to her. A tier. Yunobo. Drug Lord Mafia boss himself, Yunobo, is a hoot. He's a little bit more simple than the others we've just covered. He excels at making a big old boom, but is a little clumsy while doing so. Yunobo's rollout shoots him forward in a blast of fire. It's decent to use for mining out groups of rocks, but he does throw the resources all over the place, which I am not a big fan of, despite the convenience he offers. Like all the companions, he suffers from the fact you have to go find him first all the time instead of just pushing a button, but with him, there's a good chance it'll just miss entirely, so you just ran around and, the roll deals a lot of damage, but hits the first change in elevation it meets, so you've got to be a little careful on slope surfaces. Not that he's gonna hurt Link or anything, come on, it's Yunobo's here. He'll also stick himself to the front of your vehicles, and something I only recently found out was instead of shooting him, you can just simply use his body as an explosive battering ram. That is just hilarious. It's cool that at least one partner makes use of how you're on top of your vehicles all the time, even if, like I said, he's a bit of a visual block. Like Riju, the rollout will burn up grass and let you take to the air, which is mighty useful. Unlike Riju, however, his attack not only deals the elemental damage of fire, but also has a hit of knockback on it from his body making the impact. meaning shooting Yunobo at a fire-type enemy will still hurt them, which is actually much appreciated. He himself hits pretty dang hard. He'll do a big wind-up on his animation and knock foes to the ground more often than not. He can knock enemies away from your killing blow, which can be annoying, but he is trying his best. The Goron is rightfully very bulky as well, and his body will get stuck on more terrain than the others, even when he's just out walking out of combat. This means you may be mid-fight before looking around for him, only to see he's stuck behind a rock. What a lovable guy. All in all, he's a little unreliable, but pretty fun to set and forget. Yunobo, you B tier.
I am glad to meet you, Link. I must thank you. It is because of you that we have recovered my secret stone.
So, the robot, semi-useful but clunky and pretty awkward. Minu takes the form of a giant mech suit, which, does this. Link can customize her offensive options for a couple different results. Cannons and emitters are solid choices, while fans and rockets give you a slight bit of mobility, but not much. The frost emitter is often the fan fave choice, because at least you as Link will be able to get a shattering hit on an immobilized enemy. All the parts equipped to her will still downgrade even when she's fighting beside you on autopilot. While mounting her, Link can pass over hazardous materials like Ganon Gloop, but will constantly drain your battery. Annoying yet understandable, it is a machine, I get it. I don't know, I kind of wish like she was fast at base, and then your battery makes her like bonus fast, and then when your battery's gone, she's still fast, but no, she's just kind of like... Her lack of maneuverability means you often cannot dodge big hits, which take directly from Link's health bar, and that is the worst part. You become such a big target on her for little benefit. She's far better used as nothing more than a platform to climb on top of and enter bullet time, to be frank. Her attacks themselves often miss, which is, it's just a thing to see. What are you doing? Depending on what's equipped, she'll maybe blow you up or set you on fire. Why is that an option? Pretty disappointing. Probably by the time you get her, enemies have leveled up and her basic strikes will not cut it. Let me try and be positive and find some niches though. The hot air balloon works to break your fall. So like if you're really high on a mountain and you're out of stamina for whatever reason and you're out of food and you have a robot and you have a hot air balloon, you could do that. Her shield is notably a completely invincible barrier, which is kinda good, but gosh forbid she uses it herself when you want her to attack. Even standing behind her as a body shield doesn't work too great, as she's an even bigger obstruction than Yunobo. Her laser arms are decent for mining, but climbing on and off doesn't feel the best. It's like 3 or more button presses to get away from her. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be positive right now. Did I mention she runs like this? By equipping the fire hydrant, she can remove the gunk off of you, specifically during a Muck to Rock boss fight. You can spray the flame emitter in cold regions for warmth, and besides gloom, you can traverse quicksand or shallow bogs if you really want to. You know what? Here you go. She sets you at a good height for apple picking. Easy S tier! No. Minu, you had the potential, but you are not the GOAT. I am forced to drop the mecha suit in its rightful place, C tier. There we are. That's the list. What do you think? All the companions by their usefulness. I know lots of people play with the companions completely turned off, but I've always loved having an adventuring buddy, as clunky or as silly as they may be. What's up next for Zelda, I could not say for certain, but I hope they continue to implement these awesome characters into the journey. I mean, even just a Wolf Link in BOTW was pretty cool. Will we ever get to see the titular Zelda as a companion? We did. It's in Spirit Tracks for the Nintendo DS family of systems. That's all I have to say for now. If you like what we do, check out other Zelda-rific content right here on MojoPlays. Once more, I've been Josh Chiptroid. Have a good day.